Indigo, and here today we are here at the Spanish Grand Prix in Catalonia. My name is IoT Indigo, as you formerly know me as. Joined to me today is Phoenix.
This is Phoenix. Hi everyone, hope you're alright. You co-commentated today with Indigo. Let's have a good race.
Yeah, indeed. Thank you for joining me. You're the last solution, Phoenix, after asking loads of people, but unfortunately I couldn't get anybody. So,
no problem.
The Spanish track, how do you feel about it? Is it a good track for you?
I mean, it's a nice fluent track. You need to be in a good rhythm. It's nice and fluent. If you're not in a rhythm and your tyres are off, the undercut is going to be very powerful. So, you need to keep the rhythm up, otherwise you'll be very slow.
Yeah, that's true indeed. Which part of the track do you really struggle the most? Is it the middle sector, third sector, or the first two corners can catch a lot of people out, can't it?
The first two corners have been changed in this game, so it's a lot easier now. I would say the middle sector is probably the most difficult, as the last sector's changed as well. So probably the middle sector, especially the left-right before the straight.
And what do you think about that double left-hander replacing the chicane now?
I mean, it's a late apex corner. It's a bit hard, especially if you're on old tyres. You probably lose the rear. It can be a bit difficult, but yeah, we'll have to see how the drivers do today.
We will indeed. We've got Vapor Shadow, the first man out on the circuit then. On the soft compound tyres, majority of drivers are on the circuit. QVR Gary is filling in for Troye, who fortunately is not here tonight once again, as he was supposed to be a full-time driver. Here comes Vapor Shadow, right in the final corner, well, penultimate corner, into the final corner we go then. Let's see what the Alfa Romeo can do, as he is a reserve driver who raced in AlphaTauri back in Australia. So heading down this long straight then, approaching about 325 kilometres. We hit the first braking zone break at the grey mark there. A bit of hesitation to turn number 1 into turn number 2. The back end just kicking out a bit. Into turn number 3 we go. They're using full throttle there, and he doesn't take the tightest line. What would you do, Phoenix? Would you take the tightest line through there?
It's hard to say. It depends on what kind of line you want to take through the corner, honestly.
As we head down into turn number 5 then, slight lock up, but won't affect his performance as Isak Kush then has retired at the pit lane entry, so that's his qualifying done and dusted for the 7th time in a row. Bit of hesitation as well into turn 7 and turn number 8 for the Alfa Romeo as we head into this flat tire right-hander, as DRS is enabled once again, get the slight slipstream off the Williams there, who's on an outlap. That's probably German in the Williams, if I'm dare say both Williams are on an outlap, except German, he's actually on a flyer, so it must be Nathan then if German's on a flyer. As we make our way into this right-hander, let's see how he takes it, threading the needle there, getting on the power. Looks like he almost hit the 100-meter board too on the outside. As we head into the final corner, then let's see what the benchmark is here around Spain. As he crosses the line, let's see what lap time is this going to be. 11.7 for the Alfa Romeo.
It's not a bad lap there.
What lap times are you expecting, Phoenix, from these drivers? Well, you don't really know these drivers, but what lap times have you seen so far around here?
I mean, I know obviously a low 11 is going to be a very good lap. I think that a low 11, high 10 might be a pole around here, but obviously that's pushing it. I would expect a high 10, probably a 10.8. So you're already in the low 11s already.
Indeed, we've got Antonio making his way towards the line. I know he's done some racing around here. Well, not racing, it was a qualifying session he took part in for EML for the IRT esports team. He puts that AlphaTauri to second, so I know what pace Antonio's got, unless he's lost the rhythm already a few days, or 7 days later than what he's done. Last, I think it was a 10 point something he did, or was it 11.2? I can't remember now, but anyways, he's in P2 with 11.4, so he knows what times it should be set in, as Nathan there on board with him in the Williams. Our championship leader, by the way, is George Russell down in P11, who's on a flying lap. It was him between Walter, as George Russell goes quickest with a 10.7. Wow, that's a fantastic lap time already. As we've got Nathan
that's a great lap time, that.
It is indeed, mate. A 10.7, so I think you predicted it as well, like a high 10.
Maybe, I mean, changed my mind now, considering that he's already done the 10.7. Maybe looking at a 10.5, 10.4 for pole, as these drivers are very competitive between each other. So
Jordream, the German driver, unfortunately has retired from this session along with Isak Kush. So Jordream is another driver who I've been watching in qualify. Looks like he retired early in the last few races as well. So those guys like qualifying bands. Bompia in P3. QVR Gary had a great time. Posh Evans crossed the line now to take P4 away from Antonio. But you said you know some drivers. Which drivers do you know, Phoenix?
Well, I knew them from a small league and an esports team from FRL. One of them are Chihuahua at the bottom, P20, and FRL, Humley, and then Jerome as well. But these drivers that I know are very competitive. So was Nathan in this league as well. I know they're very competitive, very fast, and very, very talented drivers.
They are a good lot indeed. We've got 4 tiers because I know you've not been here in this league before, but we've got 5 tiers actually because another tier has been introduced. It used to be a called Academy team, but now they're into 5 tiers. So I commentate tier 4 as well, so there's a lot to remember. In tier 4 we have it on Mondays, I think, along with tier 5.
But yeah. Nothing going on really at the track at the moment. Everyone's on outlaps at the minute. As Josh Evans comes back in the pits.
Yeah, sorry about that. I had to mute myself for a split second. Didn't need to leave you hanging there. But Sweet Con, and he's second in the championship. But as you can see, sliding the car around turn before. He likes to play games sometimes. Back in the last 2 races at Canada and China, he disqualified himself on purpose to start last. But I think he won the race last time in Canada from last. Well, it wasn't exactly last because 2 more drivers got disqualified as well. And he came from 17th to 1st, I think, overtaking George Russell. They were fighting for victory along with Jeroen and Leroy. So keep an eye on him because he's an incredible driver as well. One to watch for, and he's currently second in the championship with George Russell in P1.
Not bad, not bad.
And also Sahilu down in P20 is also 3rd place in the championship as well. So he'll be looking to make inroads on the top 2. As we've got Sweet Car making his way towards the final corner to start a flying lap then in the Ferrari. DRS enabled for the Ferrari driver, so let's see what lap time he can set. The Alfa Romeo in the background did go out wide. I don't know who that was, but hopefully it didn't affect their lap time. Was that Luke right behind? I'm not quite sure, but he's got his DRS open anyway. Headed down into turn number 1 then. I see a lot of drivers taking different lines through turn 3. They like to take the tighter line, middle of the road for Sweet Car, then brings it to the outside. I'm not quite sure if the tight line is the best way to go or not due to the marbles they pick up on the tyres as we head down into turn number 4 then. This could be another difficult corner on traction, but looks like he got out there very smoothly. Into turn number 5 we go, on the throttle immediately. Then this little corner here is turn 6 as Antonio's crashed out of turn number 4, so he is out of the session already then. Here's Antonio as we keep on board with Sweet Car headed into turn number 9 there. By the way, Sweet Car went a bit wide there, but didn't really hook up the apex as he would have wanted through turn 9 as we head down into turn number 10. The Alfa Romeo keeping tabs with the Ferrari, so quite interesting to see. I think that is Luke down in P16.
That is Luke, yes, that is Luke, and then you got Humbley just behind the Alfa Romeo, which is not bad.
Will Luke be a little bit too close for comfort there as Sweet Clown actually backs off, so the Alfa Romeo then might get hindered as he puts himself into P16 because he validated, so I think that's the case there, Felix.
Oh, yeah, never mind then.
And Humbley in P3 is 11.1 for the Alpine, so you said he was behind those two and he goes P3, Felix.
That's not bad, that. I saw he went purple in the second sector, so not bad.
Also, two newcomers is Chaza and German, so welcome to both of them. I know them really well. They're Alfa Romeo teammates in another league, but here they are separated into Aston Martin and Williams then. So let's see how they got. Some very quick drivers. They scored a few podiums now and then in the other leagues as well, so one to watch out for. German putting that Williams into P6. Chaza heading around the final corner now. That's the penultimate corner, sorry. Is the final go. Slight downshift into the last corner. A bit of understeer on the way. Goes towards the line. It's 11.4, so not the place he wants to be. But P2 down to P11. Look at that. 4/10 separates those 8 drivers, or 9.
I know, wow. Considering that George Russell set a blistering time, it's hard to see if anyone else can get into the 1:10 10s here. As George Russell is dominating the field at the minute.
Jeroen Visser, another driver to keep an eye high in the top 3 last time out in Canada, but unfortunately did not go his way. I think he was one of the drivers started inside the top 3. I'm not quite sure who took pole. Was it Jeroen or George? They were very close to the drive, but when it came to the wet, that's when they separated. As we head around turn number 9 then for the Dutchman in the Red Bull. Missed 2 races due to being on holiday. Then once he returned, he was sick. So he returned last week at Canada, and now we're here at the Spanish Grand Prix then in Europe as we head round through this right-hander we go. Just want to be very patient with all because the tyres will be at its best. Look at that. You can see plenty of that, won't you, Felix?
Yes, we will. they more see it in a race when the tyre wear is a bit off. Oh, and as he goes wise again. Oh.
Okay, okay.
That was a very weird line.
Well, that got caught on stream there, so he might be in a bit of trouble with track limits because even though we did complete the lap, it was valid. He still set it off the track, and you got to keep all 4 wheels on the track. So,
oh wow,
yeah,
he still did a 1 minute 10.
Oh, Nathan in the Williams goes P2. It's a Nathan 1-2, by the way, because George Russell was called Nathan. He changed his name to George Russell now in the Williams then, so, or in the Mercedes. So I would love to say Nathan versus Nathan in the battles. I did say it one time about 2 years ago in the 2021 game, and it was Nathan versus Nathan. But here they are, 1-2 once again. Both Alpines I haven't mentioned, well, Smalley Boys I haven't mentioned. He's doing a great job. Who sat in P4? He's currently in a lap time. Let's see what he could do then in the Alpine as he makes his way now towards the line. It's going to be a 10.9. He goes P2. Look at the times between P2 and P4. Unbelievable.
It's close.
Too
Special
close for comfort.
P3 and P4. 1,000th of a second.
It's just incredible. P3 and P4 being that close around here at the Spanish Grand Prix. Reserving P16 can be quite handy sometimes in qualifying. 50.6 in that middle sector then. So let's see what the Haas can do coming towards the final few corners of this lap, heading to the final sector where we saw that chicane being taken out. This is where they take the MotoGP line through here, headed down into the final corner then. So I'm not quite sure how much lap time there is in qualifying, but oh, it's a lap time invalidation for him.
Yeah, the Red Bull's just gone off for the second to last corner, but he's going to the pits now.
I think Cross Lehman went a bit too deep. He actually finished us up, I think. It's 11.11 then for the Mercedes driver for Cross Liam. Then he can be quite handy sometimes as well in qualifying. Sweet Crown in P15 going for another lap time, it seems. Luke Isakusha, Joby, they don't really have invalidations, but Sahelu there down in P20. I'm not quite sure what antics he's up to. He's currently down there in P20, not on a lap time, well, haven't set a lap time just yet then. So the Aston Martin driver, if he does have a qualifying ban, well, he did sustain damage last time in Canada, so Canada wasn't a good race for him because he's been on great form of runs so far. Sweet Crown, yeah, he's turned the ERS off, so he's not on a flying lap here as he likes to go around just trying to surprise us. But Vapor Shadow then in P14 coming through turn 5 now with 5 minutes left to go in the qualifying session. Sahili must have a qualifying bag because I wouldn't leave it this late, would you, Phoenix?
No, well, he could do a one glory run towards the end. But, I mean, that's quite risky, that, because if you invalidate, you definitely start from last place. So.
Yeah, the best he can get is P17 with those 3 having a retirement to their name, and also with Reservoir, who hasn't set a lap time either in the Haas. I know he's been struggling a little bit here around the Spanish Grand Prix, so hopefully he can get a lap time on the board for his sake, as we've got Vapor Shadow coming through the penultimate corner now. Into the final corner we go for Vapor Shadow. Posh Evans has joined back. He has internet connection issues as Vapor Shadow goes up into P10, then just ahead of Bompier in P11. So yeah, gets himself inside the top 10, just pushes Bompier out of it. QVR Gary in that middle sector is a few hundreds up then, so let's see what the Irishman can do here. Oh, look at that, massive oversteer.
Oh.
Yeah, tight there, very, very tight too. Well, very close to hitting the wall, and he just lost the car on the exit with the back end sliding out on him, unfortunately, and that's dropped him. Well, hasn't set a lap time, well, hasn't finished that final lap. Let's see who to keep an eye on here. We've got German on his potential last lap then, as majority of drivers are in the pit lane then, so we're just waiting for the intense times as the pressure will ramping up on these drivers to get the best lap times. And Sweet Crown, 5 laps on those soft compound tyres then, so he's just getting a feel for the track as we head down into turn 1 for German. Very nice. Oh no, a bit too much curb is in the gravel there, and too much oversteer, or too much curb led to oversteer, which caused him to go off the track then. So luckily for German, his tyre should be too odd, Felix.
No, he might be able to, if he has enough fuel and he's not put 5 kg in, he might be able to do another lap, but we'll have to see.
How much racing have you done around the 2023 Phoenix? Are you still racing nowadays?
I still do a bit of racing, not as much as I used to, but yeah, not bad. I mean, I'm not the slowest, but I'm not the quickest either, so I'm not going to complain.
We'll find out who's the slowest and quickest in 2 days' time.
We will. Found out who was the quickest last time, didn't we, Jamie?
Oh, yeah, we don't need to bring that up. I was stuck behind people who, let's just say, Yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Slower.
But, yeah, slower. I wanted to say something more offensive, but I realised it's not the right thing to say.
Oh, Ferrari's gone the. Alright. He's in the wall. Sweet ground.
Watching the race though, Phoenix, you need to watch him in races because he will fly through the field. I think, well, Russell's retired early now, so he won't be going for that final lap. Will he save a set of soft compound tyres later for the race? Maybe due to a safety car, but sweet car in there. You don't want to take him seriously qualifying. It's the race you want to keep an eye on him because I think he gained 9 positions on 1 lap in the first lap. So keep an eye on him then, as George Russell found out, and it didn't help him whatsoever in the final few laps of the race when he was fighting Sweet Crown. It was raining last time out in Canada. Rain came in midway through as Sweet Crown has retired then. So I don't, from our point of view, for viewers, I don't really like to see it, but it's intrigued us for racing because I want to see a proper shootout for pole position. But obviously these drivers have got their own ideas and their own strategy plays as well. So yeah, it's understandable for their point of view, but for our point of view, we want to see a shootout for pole.
Yeah, we do. I've just witnessed German running to the back of Kenny, I think it was. No, it wasn't. It was Jerome. He's got no front wing, German, heading down after the straight. I think he was on a lap or something. That might be going to the stewards.
Oh, German there on a flying lap. Looks like he was as well due to the amount of EOS. He hasn't got any fuel either. He'll dive back in the pit lane with no minutes left on the board for him to do another flying lap. So it's going to be, what for him, German, P9 best as Crossley again misses turn number 1, compromised into 2. Now into turn number 3 then. This long right hander, the marbles are on the tyres then. So get back on the racing line to scrub them off. Into turn 4, he's 3/10 down, so we won't be going on board with him. And I don't think he's got enough lap time left in the session either. So that's his qualifying done and dusted. As it's unfortunate for him there. Cross Liam currently in P5, but the next 2 laps he went on, he's just going to get it hooked up. Gomez in the pit lane to retire. We're on board with Jeroen Visser then.
Oh! He went purple as well.
Traction zone out there, and he's unfortunately
he's beached.
Yeah.
Oh,
make sure he didn't get disqualified.
Track. Yeah.
I think you're allowed to reset track if you're beached, but any other circumstances, I don't think so. QVR Gary goes P2 in the Alpha Tauri. What a great lap time there for Gary to get it finally hooked up.
So close.
And is anybody else close to? We've got Smalley Balls, who's a few hundreds down in that first sector. Then can he make it? No, he can't. No, he can't. Oh! I thought he made the corner.
Invalid. He might. It was very close. Very close, just off the track limits there.
And what about CRO Nathan in P4 then? Going for his best qualifying result of the season. Heading into the final corner now in 7th gear. Let's see what lap he can set. It's going to be, unfortunately, not an improvement for him. We've got a Red Bull of Kenny coming towards the line now. Goes or stays in P8 for the time being. With an Alpine across the line. Stays in P3. That was Smalley Balls. Anybody else? Vapor Shadow in P10 coming towards the line now. Goes P8. Displaces Kenny for P8 as Bompia in the middle sector as he approaches turn number 9 now. Let's see what the Ferrari man can do as he comes towards the end of it. It's going to be a 50.2, so it's a few hundreds up, so not enough to, well, it's enough to boost him ahead of 12, but maybe not 11, so he needs to find a bit more time in that last sector to get himself inside that lucrative 10th place as he makes his way now towards the penultimate corner. And looks very neat, very nice and tidy. It's very interesting, by the way, Phoenix, what gears they take to the final corner. Stays
yeah. Well, it depends on what you prefer, honestly. Some people take 7th and let the throttle still go downshift and just keep it flat. But, I mean, it's up to the risk on what you want to take. Because if you go too deep, you're hitting that curb, you'll spin into the wall. I've done it before when it first came out, the game. And I've done it and I was like, oh no. It's the hard corner to get, especially in the race when you're on old tyres. It's a struggle.
It's also downforce dependent as well, and maybe controller. Is there much difference between controller? Well, obviously there is, but that corner going down to 7th there. Antonio says my wheel disconnected, so that explains why he DNF'd in qualifying. But there it is then, our qualifying results, and Luke, Isaac Kush, Jewel Beam and Chihuahua down in P20. As Sweet Crown, who hasn't set a representative lap time, will start P16, surprisingly disqualifying himself to go for the ultimate challenge from last to first, like he did, I think it was a few races ago. But Jewel Beam also disqualified himself against Isa Kush, and Chihuahua, for whatever reason, has also done there in P20. So changing luck for Chihuahua, as he didn't get a good result in Canada due to struggling and making. But hopefully on this occasion, he's yet to win a race around here. He scored 3 third. Oh, look at this, then, Phoenix. You don't really see this. You don't see this.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. No, you don't. I mean, there was a hurricane it was last week actually in Spain, because I was on holiday there last week, and it was a massive hurricane, lightning and everything. So maybe it's corresponding to real life. Who knows?
Wow. Rain is set for the grid then, so qualifying was very vital to try and get the track position to benefit you in the race to stay ahead of your rivals there. But let's see then, the ultimate challenge for all these drivers surviving in the wet period. Had quite a few wet races this season, in this season 9, so it's been a very interesting mix up there. But I think they're going to start in the intermediates, because I can see outside Kenny's garage that the intermediates are on standby, so let's see if those are going to be used there. Doesn't look wet enough.
No, it might be for wet weather, but I think it's just right for intermediates. But I think maybe the reason why drivers weren't getting as quick times as I thought they would is because they might be running higher wings. I know you already run higher wings for this track, but maybe they're running higher because they saw it in the rain. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see, because I think that will play a big difference to set up that all the drivers are running today.
I hope it transfers into a dry race as well, because I like to see a wet/dry race or dry/wet race. It always spices things up. I don't like it when it's fully wet, because that can be a bit boring sometimes, and also there's not much mixed up in the strategies either. So maybe more chance of a safety car. But anyways, like it was in Canada, it went from dry to wet, and that benefited some people, because I think some people, the mediums, took the medium tyres to a long stint until that rain came in, and therefore didn't have to switch to another dry compound and put the inters on immediately along with the hard runners. That sort of benefited Sweetcard as well by staying out there on the mediums, and he maintains second place, fighting alongside George Russell. But there's no formation lap, so we'll get straight into it then, as we've got 5 lights and we're going to be away for the Spanish Grand Prix then for round number 7. They slither around on the circuit, but George Russell looks like he's got a decent start, maintains first. We've got QVR Gary in P2 defending from Smalley boards, with Nathan tucked in behind, as Nathan might fancy a move up the inside. Now they're all going to be very tentative in the first few corners. Look at Nathan around the outside, and now he has the inside line into turn number 3 then. So what a great move there, as he puts Smalley balls offline. Might fancy you even give him a run for his money as well, down into turn number 4. Oh, it's contact, and he outbrakes himself and tags Nathan, who falls down the order too. So yet again, first lap contact for Nathan, and it wasn't his fault, unfortunately for him. So he's going to drop down the order after a great start, as we all slither and slide. Coming into turn number 5 there, as we've got Bompia off the track. We've got Streetcard already up into P9 then. You can see squabbles in the midfield there. Yellow flags for Antonio, who's unfortunately gone for a little bit of a spin. Bompia versus Luke now, heading into turn number 9 we go. This is going to be very tentative indeed between all these drivers, probably not knowing the weather conditions, but they all make it out unscathed for the time being, as Luke might fancy a run up the inside as we head into turn number 10. There's an Alfa Romeo who looks like he's sliding around and made contact with an Alpine. That's Vapor Shadow. Bompia goes through, and now Vapor Shadow fighting around the outside to make amends after that contact there, but gets squeezed off the track. Now his teammate comes through. Oh, they make contact again! And looks like he hasn't spotted fully, as Humbalele's in the pits there for whatever reason. But anyways, lap 2 Phoenix, plenty of action going on.
Yeah, well, at the first lap there, first corner, Antonio clipped the Haas of Kush, and he's spun around. So that explains why he's at the back of the field, as both Alpines are in the pits, I'm guessing for a nose change. As we head around turn 3, all the drivers keeping it reasonably safe. Nice and compact together. Let's just hope to keep it all clean as we head down.
Changes. Look at Josh Phoenix. He's going up the inside of the Haas,
and he's has he got the move done? No. Oh, bit of a touchy there.
I think Phoenix, it looks like he locked up the rear and just... Oh, they contact again! Are they going to go in the wall? No! They kept it out of the wall this time. But, there's more contact. There's a McLaren who's spun. That's his teammate, Jewel Beam, who's gone for a spin. So, dismal misfortunes there for Joel Boone in the last few races. He needs a clean slate. Does the German driver in the McLaren. German's had a flyer though. Up into P4 he goes. He's currently, in fact, oh look at that. Almost lost traction, but I went off board with Chaza. It looks like he's about to make a move on Isak Kush, but I think Isak Kush hasn't covered for the time being. But German there in P4, first appearance here in CRL, right to the back of Jeroen Visser, and George Russell sets the fastest lap though. QV Gary, by the way, maintaining P2 then, so Gary there, it's going to be his best result of the season if he can maintain this P2. Look at German with a straight line speed. Jeroen goes defensive, pushes German to the right hand side, and now it goes down the inside, but Jeroen's sticking there, but he's running out of room. Into turn 2 we go. Inevitable contact there with the tightness between those two, but Sweet Car now up into P5 from P60, but you scored! You almost took out Walter! That was so close there. And unfortunately he will drop to the back of the field as Hubbalele gets another penalty. That's a retirement in the pit lane for sure, because that's what people do when they speed in the pit lane twice. No, it's not actually.
It's for a nose change.
Oh,
I think
so
he's serving a pen. It's going to be a long race for him.
It's going to be a long race with Jeroen Visser as well. The second time in a week, unfortunately, he's been...
Oh,
that's McLaren.
Joel Beam just spun. Lost on his own there.
Not enjoying these conditions, is he, Phoenix?
No, not at all. I think he's just lost it. Lost the rear head into the corner. Doesn't seem like his setup is suited to the wet weather conditions. That's why he's struggling.
Chihuahua's on the back of the Alfa Romeo. Looks like he's squirming through the corners there out of turn number 10. Side, this is going to be a bit nip and tuck between these two. Almost lost it on the curb itself. Oh, big contacts as well. Plenty. Oh, there's an Aston Martin. He's crashed into him. The Chaza is out of this race along with Sahilo. And Isak Kush gets a penalty for Survey's collision with Sahilo, even though it was Chaza. But both Aston Martins making contact.
Oh no.
And yeah, more drama going on around the Spanish Grand Prix. Not used to these conditions at all because it barely rains in league racing around here in Spain. But a safety car has been deployed, Phoenix. We've got plenty of drama on the opening lap of this race as well. So plenty of entertainment to keep us, keep us entertained, of course. But Sweet Crown from P15 to P4. Jeroen's retired from the session. He's called it quits after having been up in a high result. So he's gone. So this chaotic Spanish Grand Prix then got 2 retirements already on lap 4.
Yes, indeed. I think Chihuahua there has got some bodywork damage.
Oh,
so,
sure.
or floor damage, definitely. It's unfortunate he's clipped his teammate because he ghosted and then he seems like he unghosted and his teammate just unfortunately clipped him. So that's going to be very interesting after the race with that conversation.
While the safety car is out, I'm going to go to the toilet very quickly, so you could take it away, Phoenix, and yeah, just sum up what's happened in this race so far.
No problem, right, so George Russell first, he did have a 2.5 second lead. When he catches the safety cars, that'll be 0 again. Then you got Gary in second, Gerben third, Sweet Corn fourth, Liam in fifth. Seems like he's having a decent-ish race. Sweet Crown from the bottom of the field already in 4th place, which is a bloody well good job there. I don't know how he's done that. Kenyon 6th, Boom Jane 7th, Shadow in 8th, and Nathan in 9th, and Luke has just came in the pits. So Josh is now promoted to P10. And so is the Hatters in the pits. So, and is Antonio. I think nose change. Oh, just getting some fresh intermediates on, it seems like. Both Hatters are double stacking. And so is Julian as well, so that means Charo, I know he's come to the pits again. Don't know why, he might be retiring this time. And so everyone's come in the pits pretty much. From P10 downwards. Let's see what Charo's doing here. He's putting on another set. And he's getting a new front wing and another set of intermediates. I think he might have some floor damage there. Yes, it's going to be interesting now to see how the drivers cope, all bunched up together. It's going to be very exciting. Oh, House almost lost it.
I'm back now, Phoenix.
Thank you. I was running out of things to say then towards the end.
Yeah, it's unsurprising, mate. You've not been here for the whole season, so it's understandable, of course. I know a lot of these drivers know the history because I've been here for 3 years as well, so it's understandable, mate. But thank you for keeping me company as well and watching the race with me tonight.
No problem at all.
It's hard to commentate when you've only well, not seen a lot of, so I understand from your point of view. But hopefully you can get us started very quickly and enjoy this race.
Yeah.
The safety car leads them on again because Humbalele hasn't caught up. I thought Russell was going to dive in the pit lane for whatever reason, but there's no need to because it's still wet out there, so no dry compound tyres being used. But Humbalele has been lapped and he can't unlap himself then, so that's going to be a punishing race for him in P18 there, not making amends after being lapped. So there's no comeback drive unless he could lap himself.
Yeah, it was a bit surprising, honestly. From P10 downwards, they all boxed for another fresh set of inters, so who knows, they might have the upgrade. They have the better performance out of the tyres now compared to P10 upwards, but I don't think it'll make much of a difference as the intermediate tyres last quite long around the circuit.
Yeah, they do in these conditions, but maybe the inters, fresh inters for the end. We'll see then if it pays dividends for those drivers later on in this race. They won't make much of a difference, but we'll see if they got the extra performance towards the end. If it stays, of course, raining throughout the entirety of this event, but hopefully it doesn't and it can clear up. We're waiting for Sahilo and Humbalele. Sahilo made 9 places off the start until he made contact at the penultimate corner, but Chaza says that's unfortunate. Yeah, unfortunate there, Chaza. You were doing in P15 you were struggling, but it was nice to see you appear in Cone, and hopefully you can come back stronger if you do race again. I know this hasn't been the perfect example for you, not the first impression you would have wanted, but if you go back and watch the races in Cone, as we've had it on for like the last 3 years and all these seasons we've had, hopefully you understand and you can stay with us for the next few races, because it'll be nice to have you. A great addition. You're a good pace, great driver, got nice guy as well. Safety cars in at the end of this lap, so we're about to have some more racing action as the Williams there of Gurman almost hit the back marker of Humbalele, and he can't afford to do that, especially behind the back marker after having a great start up into P3 from P10 on the grid then. So what a great start there from Gurman. The G has left the session, unfortunately for him, not the drive he would have wanted after a comeback in Canada. But here we are, then his teammates in P6 as well, so hopefully he can score some points for Red Bull. And the safety car restart will get going once again as George Russell will take them away with QVR Gary, the Irishman in P2, the highest so far he's been this season. So can he maintain that position in P2? If he does, looks like Humbalele that gets to the pit lane to move out of everybody's way to make sure he doesn't cause chaos, because that can lead to chaos with safety cars and yellow flags as well. And here we go, the racing once again. As we head on to lap 7, it's Sweet Cloud close up on Gurman. Isak Kush is ahead of Luke as we head down now into turn number 1 we go. Too far back as Humbalele is retired in the pit lane. Luke, in fact, Gurman there, did he get all squabbly put out of turn number 2? What's happened there?
Alfa Romeo on the grass, shadow clipped. I think it was Posh Evans, and the side bug literally sent him into the grass.
Oh, it's a shame there, but Isak Kush is up into P10 then ahead of the other Alfa Romeo, so Isak Kush making moves and Sweet Cloud has overtaken Gurman around the outside as well into turn number 5. Great lunge, good momentum out the corner 2 to launch ahead as Gurman suffered with wheel spin, and now he's up into P3 for P15. So Isak Kush there squabbling with Luke still, and he maintains P10 for the time being. Isak Kush also on a recovery drive as well, but George Russell would have hated this safety car because his nearest championship rival in P3, who was P2 in the standings, is gaining and gaining then. So the safety car would have wiped his lead out over Sweet Cloud in P3 and has brought him back in place. So let's see then if Russell for the second time in a row can hold on to Sweet Cloud, as he lost it in Canada. But what about Spain then? He had a penalty back in Canada. Did George Russell try to force Walter into an error? By the way, Walter is Sweet Cloud. I like to call him Walter because that's what I've known him as for a long time, if you get confused what I'm saying. But QVR Gary then is 2 seconds away, so George Russell is using this advantage, having better pace than Gary. Looks like he's well, he's not really struggling, just not really matching the pace, it must be said, against George Russell. Isak Kush up into P9 ahead of Posh Evans, who's squabbling amongst other cars in the midfield too, with Antonio trying to make a recovery drive as well. Dual beam alongside Antonio, the Alfa Romeo alongside the McLaren. of Posh Evans there. So 2 battles. Oh, Sweet Cloud has overtaken Gary. Is that the same place? It almost is, but Gary's fighting this one. They go side by side, but looks like Wilder's got better demand, better traction there as Gary smartly backsides this corner because you don't want to go too wide here through this part of the track, Felix.
No, you don't at all, as you're on that curb, and it will spin you into the wall.
It will indeed then. So that has released Walter to chase after George Russell for the 2nd time in a row. And look at Isa Kush going around the outside of Nathan. This will be a great move. He can make it stick, but it goes a bit deep. And Gary and Gurman are fighting for P3 then. So it looks like going there. Did he make a slight mistake? Gary's now sensing that into P3. In fact, Gurman has got ahead of Gary, so or is it the other way around? It's because of Walter who overtook him. I can't actually remember what order they were in. It was only a few laps ago as well, so that proves my memory not to be the best. But I think it was, Gary. It was Gurman who's got ahead of Gary, so Gary must have made a mistake there because he was fighting with Sweet Crown at turn 5.
Yes.
So Gurman's back up into P3 essentially.
Yeah, pretty much. He's not lost a position, but he has at the same time.
Yeah, making up after losing the position towards Sweet Cloud, back up into P3. We've got both McLarens of Joe Beam and Posh Evan side by side, but Posh Evan has been caught up in a few incidents this evening as well, as Jewel Beamer's up to P11. And Antonio, will he take advantage? No. But what about the Alfa Romeo of Luke, who goes a bit deep into turn number 4, but Jewel Beamer alongside him, the hassle getting squirrely coming out of turn number 4. Jewel Beamer breaking on the grass there, goes deep, he goes off the track. That's inevitably going to happen there by putting a wheel on the grass. You don't want to do that in any braking zone at all. And he has paid the consequences. Will fall down into P16 or P17, depends where Vapor Shadow is. Looks like he's too far back then. So the gap between George Russell and Sweet Corn, let's keep an eye on that and see if it goes up and down or just fluctuates between the two, because that'll be very interesting to see who's got a better pace in the wet. Is it Sweet Clown? Is it George Russell? We're about to find out. Oh, Gary's gone off the track there, so it looks like he's losing momentum just slightly, and he's under pressure now from Cross Liam, who maintains where he started, by the way, in P5. Nathan up the inside of Isa Kush then. So in this 3rd sector, we're still seeing battles around here in the wet, Felix.
Yeah, we are. The last lap, the gap between George Russell and Sweet Ground was 2.5 seconds, 2.4 seconds across the finish line, as Small Balls makes the fastest lap of the session with a 1:23 thing that was then. He's down in 14th place, but now it's 3.5 seconds, which is interesting as he's gained a second in 1 lap. So let's see what it is around the next lap, as Gurman is now within 8/10 of Sweet Grounds, to see if he can come back and claim 2nd place, as Gary seems like he's struggling as well, and he's got a big train behind him.
All contact further up. Is that Williams? That's Nathan for the 2nd time in this race. Unfortunately, being tagged up the rear end on the 1st lap as well by Smalley Balls, and now he's been tagged once again. So he'd be ever so frustrated. On the 1st lap at Qatar, he got tagged, and unfortunately this time around he's also been tagged, also been in a high position as well. So every time he has a great qualifying, it turns into a dismal 1st lap, and unfortunately there in P13, he's got great pace, but he just can't show it after all his bad luck. And I remember back in like season 6 when he was fighting along with Ferg as well, finished P3 in the standards. His brother actually picked him. His brother, by the way, is AJ Wuhan. Those three were having a scrap for P1 Championship, but Ferg won it ahead of AJ and Nathan, and there was a great scrap as well, as Ferg became the 1-time world champion after trying to dethrone Double, who was the 2-time champion of Cone. Sweet Khan is the 2-time champion of Cone, trying to go for his 3rd consecutive title. Well, not consecutive, but his 3rd title in Cone, like Max Verstappen is in real life then. So the 2 Dutchmans go for their 3rd championship. One is in Formula 1, of course, and the other one is in league racing. So two completely different scenarios there.
Yeah, it is, but it's the same sport at the end of the day, which is Formula 1, which is a great sport. I love it. You guys love it. So let's enjoy it.
And Antonio there getting a bit too close with Reservoir as he tagged him up the rear into turn number 4. That was nowhere near a possible overtake there for Antonio, so you can be keeping an eye on that one, because those two will be going at it neck and neck between the two, Hammer and Tong. We've got Isa Kush also from the back of the grid trying to make amends. He's just tagged Bompier, or did Bompier go off the track himself? I'm not quite sure.
Well, we were side by side into turn 5 and he's sent it down the inside again as he got the bit of push in there. He's got the job done though.
Bompier has fallen down the order then after a great qualifying as well. Can't match his teammate in second place as the gap keeps fluctuation between 3.2 and 3.5 then. So the gap staying over 3 seconds, which is crucial for Nathan or George Russell in P1 to keep that gap over him and not give him any slipstream advantage at all, especially if it comes dry as well. He'll have that buffer over Sweet Crown in P2. Isak Kush right at the back of Kenny. Here we are up the inside, and it's going to be another great move up the inside like we've seen before. And luckily, they both slow down on the brakes in turn number 1. And great racing. Reservoir. Oh, dual beam. What's happened in the midfield there? We've got a few position changes. Nathan up into P10. Reservoir P11. Vapor Shadows retired. Posh Evans has fallen down the order into P16, which is now last in this race. The Smalley Balls also trying to make amends up into P11 as well, right behind the person he tagged at the start.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's just unfortunate there. Vapor was in a good position as well, and he's now DNF'd, so it just shows you how much luck is required in league racing. Yes, you could have the skill and the speed, but you need lots of luck, otherwise you're going nowhere.
Well, I don't have neither. I don't have the skill or the speed. Can't even say the words either. So, yeah, the scenario is the gap is down to 3 seconds.
You're quite fast. You're quite fast.
In the order of the games, maybe, but not these games. I think I'm not even adapted to these situations no more. Adapted to the cars like I should be, but like the rest of the drivers are.
Yeah, well, Session 2020, you were rapping in that game.
I wish we could go back to those days. Maybe I'll be racing these guys again. No, who knows.
Yeah, only wish.
Yeah, we've got Isak Kush then alongside Cross Liam. Now he finally drops position where he started down into P6 as Vapor Shadow's car has came out of the circuit to retire. Don't know why it does that, but anyways, it's finally retired. We've got Red Bull versus the Alfa Romeo, and Luke is going to go around the outside of Kenny, and he moves himself up into P7 there. So Luke is also coming from on the back of the grid. The guys who came from the back of the grid, Sweet Khan gained 14 positions, Isak Kush gained 13, and Luke's gained 10. So the guys who, the normal guys, the common guys who like to retire, always gain up the positions they need as well. But Sweet Khan then in P2 gained up 14 places. In fact, is that a spinner? Is that Kenny? Oh, Kenny! He's gone for a spin, unfortunately, down at turn number 4. So was he side by side with somebody, or did he just lose it by himself?
I think he just lost it by himself because it was quite early in the corner. I think he's just touched. He might have done. I'm not too sure.
We've got Isak Kush on a charge once again. Another place to overtake like Kamui Kobayashi did back in 2012 when he finished in 5th place for Saba. He's got alongside Gary, who goes around the outside now. Into turn number 11 we go. Great moves from Isak Kush. A chance for a podium was on then. Not good news for German there because Gary from Isak Kush, who started further down the field. German wasn't expecting Isak Kush to arrive on the scene, and now he finds himself a Haas behind him who's on the resurgence for a podium like he did at the Canadian Grand Prix. Isak Kush has scored a few podiums now, and then he knows how to do it. We've got Nathan right to the back there off the Ferrari. Now he goes side by side with him, so let's see. Oh, look at the RP2 of Smalley Balls. Will they go 3 abreast? Nathan is very late to the brakes. He slides off the track there. Smalley Balls might gain 2 for 1. And he overtakes Nathan, who drops 3, maybe 4 places now. And that's going to be 4 if Antonio can get him. And it may be so, but Julby there has to slow down because it's a Ferrari, a Bompier, being an obstacle. We've got Antonio, will they make it 3 abreast into turn number 4? There's inevitable contact. Can they keep it out of the corner clean? Let's see. Now the side by side, cut out turn number 4. They keep it nice and clean for the time being. With Nathan watching with interest there to see if he can gain from any of these guys' mistakes. As Bompier side by side with Antonio. Luke is up into P6 ahead of Cross Team, who's dropping down the order now, unfortunately for him. But yeah, that was quite close between these 3 guys. Bompier's losing it. Here comes Nathan in a place you don't expect to see overtaken. Into turn number 9 we go. Isak Kush is under attack from German, or has he got past German? He's up into P3 now. So yeah, Isak Kush is on the podium then. So what a great comeback drive there. On a charge ever since lap 1 as Antonio goes deep into turn number 10 we go. Trying to keep Nathan at bay, and Bompier, who's lost a few places on 1 lap by himself. So Bompier, they're really struggling around here at the Spanish Grand Prix of Catalonia. But look at Sweet Khan, has just taken a huge chunk out of Nathan's advantage then. So is George Russell going to feel the pressure from Sweet Khan very shortly? We're about to find out in a few laps if Sweet Khan can keep this pressure on.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It was over a few laps as Kush goes a bit deep in that corner, as it's a 3-way battle for P3, so it's got a good one. But yeah, Sweet Crown slowly catching him lap by lap, about 2 tenths a lap I would say. So he's slowly reeling him in, but it's whether you can catch, but can you overtake? So we'll be interested to see if he can make the move on George Russell, as he looks very competitive today, as the field's very compact, I would say. As many battles going on, hard to keep track of what's going on, but so far everything's clean-ish. We'll have to see.
We will indeed, mate. And you said about Speedcar, can he make the overtake? Well, he's overtaken 14 cars. Can he overtake the 15th car, which is for the race lead then for George Russell? So George Russell, once again, for the second time in a row, he finds himself Speedcar chasing him down like he was in the wet conditions. And they had a great battle, the Canadian Grand Prix. They made contact going into the chicane at the final 2 corners. And I think George there was trying to force Speedcar into an error, so he picked up a 3-second time penalty, and therefore they were going to be level pegging with penalties. Luke has overtaken Gary, who's in the pit lane. So this is a scheduled stop. Is it a scheduled stop? Will he make it to the end on those inters, I wonder?
Might be. It's going to be a long stretch to be very, very warm, but interesting play there by Gary. So it must be scheduled to stop. I think he's boxed a few laps early though to get the undercut on German.
So I don't think these inters can go to the end. And if they could go to the end, they'll be very old then. So it is a fresh inter going to be better in the second half of the race. Will Gary close them down? Will he do the undercut? Like you said, they try and gain that time back he lost then. So we're about to find out if the fresh inter is the way to go. Reservoir's also taking the fresh inter, but looks like he's a long way back after his spinner contact earlier on. So the gap is 1.2, so he's staying consistently at 3 seconds, but what's happened to Nathan's pace is just dissipated, and I wonder if he's making mistakes left, right and centre. And Reservoir sets the fastest lap of the race, and he's in clear air, no traffic, on a fresh inter. Is this the way to go now towards the end? It doesn't look like it's to be dry anytime soon. If these guys stay out there for that long, I'm indicating it's going to be dry, but if they box now, I think a fresh inter is the way to go, considering the pace they've had as well on the old inter like Streetcar. Now he's in DRS range, but obviously there's no DRS. But Nathan, George Russell is in the pits then, so he is committed. He's probably seen the fastest lap on a brand new set of inter. He thinks it's the way to go, then slows it down. Is anybody else follow him too? German's following. He's going to keep an eye on Gary, who's also pitted there. So pit stops happening. The inters then, let's see which way is the way to go. Is it the old inters or is it the new inters?
It will definitely be new inters, I think, as it'll be a 17 lap difference. That the old inters probably around 30% probably, compared to fresh inters. I can imagine that time difference being massive. As let's see if German's had a slow stop of some sort, and he's came up behind. He's done the undercut on him.
Powerful undercut there for Gary, who's up into 14th then for a net P3, I think those guys, or P4 with Isai Kush in P2. So let's see then. And look at George Russell, he's got himself up into P11. Crucially, he's rejoined ahead of Posh Evans and Kenny, because if he was stuck behind those two, I dare say Speedcrown would have got past if he did pit on the following lap. So George Russell, crucial for him in P11 with fresh air, clean air, can use that clean air to his advantage to reel in Walter and try and prevent him from doing the overcut, whereas George Russell is doing the undercut. So let's see if Speedcrown decides to box this lap. I think it's his best choice, because if he pits one lap later, for sure he'll be undercutted. And let's see what he does then. The Dutchman coming round the final corner to go for another lap on the inters then. What about Isai Kush in P2? And he stays out there too. So if a safety car comes out as well, that could also play to the likes of Sweetcar and Isai Kush, who could jump Nathan in the pit lane.
Yes, they can, which would be bad news for George Russell and Garrett and German as well, as they will be towards the back of the field. What it seems like now is most of the field are in their own separate battles, so it's very much separated at the minute. The biggest battle takes from 5th to 3rd at the minute. Everyone else is in their own little battles, and there's big gaps, which will help the quicker drivers through, as they're not in a DRS train. Even there isn't DRS, you don't want to send it on the other side and accidentally hit another car, as that result in a penalty for sure. As now George Russell's on the back of Chihuahua. Ooh, that was close.
And a massive tag slapper coming out of turn number 4, but thankfully saved the car for his sake. He swoops around the outside with better traction on Chihuahua. These two would have been fighting a few races before, but now they find themselves in different scenarios. Next one is Bompierre. Would he go for his turnaround? Would he back off, go for his turn number 10, where there's an opportunity to go down the inside on the brakes, or the outside for George's case, because Bompierre is on the inside. So George up into P9, crucially gets ahead of those two cars, not getting stuck behind him, so he loses a lot of time. So let's see, the Ferrari is in the pit lane of Sweet Car, and then so he's left it for 2 laps later. Is this the right choice? Has George got a big undercut, because the gap was like, well, 18 seconds, then went down to 15 seconds. So George will have a huge undercut on Sweet Crown, but Sweet Crown's 2 lap fresher tyres, will it pay dividends for him later on? Will 2 laps make a big difference? His pace has been formidable as well, so let's keep an eye on that. 2 laps fresher tyres also could pay off. So Sweet Crown's pace, he went from 3 seconds down to 8 tenths within a matter of laps, a handful of laps it took him. So let's see where he rejoins. He rejoins out of P9. What's the gap between George and Sweet Crown? And George overtakes Antonio, who made a mistake. And that's good news for George, not fighting Antonio in these slow speed corners to delay Walter's progress in P9 then. So next target for Walter is Chihuahua in P8, who's got about under 2 seconds, or under 3 seconds, sorry, between those three.
Yeah, I was going to say George Russell caught, was it Posh Evans? No, it was Chihuahua and someone else, Posh Evans I think. Caught them up in 1 lap with 4 seconds, which means just shows you how quick the new winter is. I think people staying out are making a mistake here, as people that are boxing are going to get a massive undercut in the fresher tyres, but what they might be doing is people that have boxed, they're going to have to box again. These people that have stayed out, they might be doing a 1-stop, so, you know, who knows, different strategies are going here, 1-stop and 2-stop, but I definitely think the 2-stop will be quicker.
Could Cross Liam do his teammate a favour and hold up Sweet Khan once he inevitably catches up to him on fresher tyres? Luke is in the pit lane then, responding towards the likes of German and Gary. Probably left it out there too late, bearing in mind that we did start in the back of the grid, so great recovery drive from Luke on a brand new set of inters. I think the new Inter's the way to go, because look at George Russell. He's 3 seconds behind more Smalley Boys. I know he had a big gap, but at the same time, you said he gained 4 seconds on Posh Evans. I think that was the case, because when he came out of the pits, there was nobody there, as Sahilu is sliding all over the show at turn number 2 then, so looks like he's struggling on those older Inters, just not getting the grip he needs. But Bompierre, like he did in China, will he get out of the way for his teammate, I wonder? Not in these corners, because it's a bit difficult to do so unless he pulls the left hand side right now to let him go. As Cross Liam let George go. Yep, it's the left hand side, he gets ahead. So great teamwork at Mercedes and Ferrari.
Yeah, indeed. I was going to say that was a very late call there, because Sweet Crown almost ran in the back of him, which would have been a disaster. But he had a purple first sector there, Sweet Crown. So see if he can set the quickest lap, or will he catch Antonio before the end of the lap? Doubt it, but these new Inters are special, so who knows.
They have Ballista in place. Gary is now ahead of Chihuahua. German's going to follow through so he doesn't lose that connection towards Gary, doesn't lose the time at all, and he gets ahead of him immediately then. So Isa Kush is in the pit lane. He's fighting amongst the likes of Gary and German, who are squabbling over P8 for the time being, and that P8 for both of them. They're in a fight for P3 unless those guys don't pit, of course. So round in the final corner we go. Let's see where Isa Kush rejoins. I think he's four quite far behind these two, because they've been on the new Inters for longer. So I think Isa Kush might find himself way behind, and he might have that pace deficit towards the end to close him in, reel him in. Here comes both McLarens ahead of Isa Kush then, so he's got those two to dispose of, Jewel Beam and Posh Evans. Jewel Beam's pitted for a brand new Inter, so hopefully Posh Evans let him go, because they were side by side of the straight, but I don't think Josh wanted to scrub off any more speed than he had to, and he let his teammate go eventually into turn number 1. So he's got Isa Kush right behind him then. So let's see who gets the podium. Will it be Gary German or anybody else? Sweet Khan, next victim. Around the outside for the third time in this race is Antonio. So that's a good move there once again for Sweet Khan, as Bompierre. Oh, big contact there! Oh, that could have ended our championship contenders race right there and then. German has... Oh, Bompierre's off the track, by the way, at turn number 8, but German's disposed Bompierre, they both have, and Bompierre's slowing down, not to get in anybody's way, because it looks like he's definitely struggling on those Inters. Yeah,
I was going to say then, Gary went down the inside of Boomji, and in turn 5, and Antonio was off then. But yeah, Gary went down the inside, clipped him a bit, and then Gerben sent down the inside of the next corner and made him go on the slotted curb, which made him half spin. But yeah, looks like all the old Inters runners are struggling massively, as you can tell, you know, Kush was ahead of Gary and Gerben, now he's over 3 seconds behind, which just shows how big the pace difference is. Looks like also Jewel Beam has got into the battle now for the net P3, with German and Gary, as Gary's behind his teammate. Let's see if he'll let him through.
Yeah, Joe Beam, another driver who starts the back of the field. By the way, on that straight, Sweet Clown overtaking Cross Liam. I was intrigued to see if Cross Liam will fight out. He was definitely pulling his ERS. He was staying where he was. I don't think he wanted to fight Walter too hard because obviously he's fighting for a championship. I know he wants to help his teammate as well in the process, but being on old inters, we're seeing these drivers struggling on old inters as well, so I don't think it was worth the fight there. I think Liam's in his own race, just let Walter go, try and fight as much as he could, but inevitably Walter was going to go late to the brakes to overtake him. So this net P3 battle between Gary, German, let's have a look. I was keeping an eye on Antonio there to see what he would do. Gary, German, Isak Kush and Dual Beams going to be very intense as Gary has overtaken his teammate Antonio. I didn't expect Antonio to make it difficult, but what Gary can do now is try and pull away in the distance. We've got Luke and Bob here fighting. Let's see if they get unscathed. But what Antonio could do is hold up these two and allow Gary to pull away. This is going to hurt him in the fast speed corners here with the turbulent air being held up in these corners because Antonio won't carry the same speed as these guys would on newer inters. So let's see if Jewelbeam can make the move. He can't do it with the ERS because Antonio's got more deployment than Jewelbeam, but Jewelbeam would dearly love to get past. And we've got a yellow flag down there. Hopefully it doesn't cause a safety car. This is going to be a great fight with the storyline now setting the tone for this race as we've got Jewelbeam up into P6, Antonio in P7. German has to follow immediately. Look who's at the back of these two, by the way. Isak Kush is coming at these rate of knots. Down the inside goes Isak Kush. German trying to stick him around the outside. He knows it's a 5-4 podium, but Antonio's holding him up. And Antonio there might have ruined German's race there because he was an obstacle in the way, essentially.
Yeah, indeed, then that was close. That was a good move then by Kush as he caught German off guard, caught him napping. But now German's now lost multiple positions. He was right behind Gary, but he's lost to Jewelbeam and Kush now.
Looks like Jewelbeam's got some strong pace in that McLaren as look at Haas spinning out of turn number 2. That is Reservoir. Remember, Roman Grosjean spawned there at 2018, taking out Nico Hulkenberg and Pierre Gasly as well as he creates a bowl of smoke as Jewelbeam there, a cloud of smoke, sorry. Jewelbeam trying to go around the outside, nothing doing, but Isak Kush might fancy a chance on the inside too. Let's say squirm away, fighting for traction. Isak Kush is up into P6 then, so great pace from the Singapore driver as he's right to the back of Gary now, he's right to the back of Cross Liam, and Cross Liam might get swallowed up here with the guys coming at a rate of knots on him. Sweet Cloud is right behind Smalley Balls. You can see Gary deploying the ERS, he's using the slipstream off the back of Cross Liam to stay ahead of Isak Kush as they get tantalisingly close into the braking zone. Isak Kush lagging, so I'm not quite sure if he's actually tapped the back of the AlphaTauri or not. The Cross Liam there, you can see defending. He's on the inside now. Sweet Cloud, I would love to see that overtake. It's down to turn number 4. But Isak Kush has slid it through, and he might take 2 for 1, you know. And he does. He takes P4 away from Cross Liam, and now Jewelbeam on the inside. So Gary has lost 2 places. He hasn't even overtaken Cross Liam yet. He's still stuck behind him as Jewelbeam and Isak Kush found a gap. Gary around the outside now, nothing doing there, so he stays behind for the time being. Gary and German really frustrated, by the way, behind the slower cars and inters. It's cost him twice, really, hasn't it, behind the slower inters, because Jewelbeam and Isak Kush are now up to P4 and P5, whereas Gary and German are stuck behind these guys.
Yeah, I was wrong decision there by Gary going around the outside in turn 3 as obviously Liam was going to go, oh, well, that was close by Gary, almost lost it then. But yeah, Liam was going wide in his old inters, so Kush thought smarter and went down the inside, took them both. But Gary's lost out now, and he's still stuck behind him, losing valuable time, which is already 2 seconds pretty much, by the time he'll overtake him. So this time he's just losing behind. German's caught back up as well, as Jewelbeam's sticking with him. As now also Sweet Crown now in P2, he's overtook the Alpine and is now chasing after George Russell again. 4.5 seconds to see what he can do as Gary now overtakes Liam.
I wonder if it's due to a setup as well. Is Walter treating the tyres much more nicer than George Russell? Because at the end of the first stint we saw Sweet Crown closing down George at a rate of knots, so I wonder if Sweet Crown's acknowledged that, decided to go longer on this stint and therefore have much more grip better towards the end of the stint. But the gap is 4.1. The laps left is about 7 or 8, so look at German getting better traction on Liam as he's overtaken up the inside. Then he goes off the track too for good measure and stays off the track too because he's allowed Luke through, might allow Nathan through, goes up the inside, and he does up into P10. So Let's see the gap between the top two. It's gone down to 3.7 now. So George Russell needs to stay consistent here, as Sweet Khan, he can't afford any mistakes. He can't afford to put a toe out of line, because Sweet Khan will take advantage of that and close him down and try and overtake you. He couldn't do it in the first stint because he decided to stay out 2 laps later, and now he can do it in the second stint. So let's see then if it pays dividends for him, staying out 2 laps later. Has it cost him? Has it gained him? But the gap is 3.1 now. He's actually closing down Nathan at a rate and not. So the battle for P1 is on, but for Nathan's sake, he'll be hoping that there'll be no safety car, as he's worried about yellow flags, especially for the Red Bull there who spun, and he's retired. No, that's Isak Kush is retired. It's a virtual safety car. Wow. But there's no full safety car, so George will be absolutely relieved of that. He can relax for a bit, try and save up some battery as well. Same with Walter and P2. Just relax, take all the nerves off, because I remember Nathan saying he's always nervous during races, even before the races too. So take the edge off a bit. He's picked up no penalties at all. Has he got good defence against Walter? Has he got the straight line speed down the straight? We'll see if Walter does close up. But the virtual safety cars came out as Kenny's retired in the pits then, so that's 2 gone, unfortunately.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, Sweet Khan just seems like he has the pace. Coming from the back of the field, amazing race so far. I doubted him at the start, but, you know, never judge a book by its cover. That's why it's there. That's why the saying's there, because you never judge a book by its cover. You never know what can happen. And he's now second. I mean, he caught, let's say, second in a lap. Oh, Gary's got a drive-through penalty.
Ah, Gary there. We saw IRT Leroy do that back at the Canadian Grand Prix when it was also wet conditions. So these guys there just pulling the trigger at the wrong moment. A bit trigger happy there. And unfortunately it's costing me penalties, so we'll have to go in the pit lane and serve that one. But the guys who stayed out at old Inters have definitely shot themselves in the foot, as they lost out a huge bunch of positions there, as Luke, another driver who's lost the back of the field, is gaining on German then. So let's see how this battle unfolds into turn number 1, as German goes defensive on the inside. Luke forces Luke to go around the outside, heading into turn number 1 then. Let's see who gets out ahead. Luke swoops around the outside. Great move there, as Nathan's ahead of Antonio for P8 then. So those two are swap positions with the Red Bull. Who's that Red Bull? That's just, it's Kenny, who just came out of the pit lane to retire on the track. I don't know why they do that. I wanted to mention this point because Phoenix, remember in the older games where if you were tied in the pit lane, the car stayed in the pit lane?
Yeah, I don't know why. It must be coded into the game. I don't know, but it will definitely cause an issue if the car gets in the way in a corner. It doesn't ghost, and it ruins the driver's race, and no one can really do anything about it. So it's something that the game or EA have to fix. I don't know. It's one of those things, but Sweet Crown's now 2.1 seconds behind. Seems like Russell's just struggling.
It is indeed. I wonder if Russell pitted to try and protect himself against that threat of the oncoming wilds in the first stint, and he pulled a big gap as well because Sweet Crown was stuck in traffic with people on order inters, but that hasn't phased him whatsoever. The gap was like over 5 seconds once Sweet Crown made his way through past Smalley Balls. Smalley Balls, by the way, who hasn't pitted. I haven't mentioned him much in this race because I haven't been able to get the chance. He made contact with Nathan at turn number 4. He went off himself as well, so lost a huge bunch of positions. In P3, he's been hunted down by Isak Kush. The gap is 1.4. We've seen Isak Kush's pace as well, as both Williams have swapped places. Nathan's ahead of Gerben, as Nathan's on the recovery drive as well after contact at turn 4. With this man in P3, Smalley Balls. So I don't think, judging by the pace of Isak Kush and also on inters that are much fresher, newer and grippier, I don't think he can defend this P3, but it's also a great recovery drive from Smalley Balls in P3 after a great qualifier. So Smalley Balls is showing some great pace recently, and hopefully he can keep it up as well to keep in the mix amongst these drivers, as Isak Kush will constantly hunt him down, and there's nothing I dare say Smalley Balls can do about it due to the good overtakes that Isak Kush has shown in the past few laps of this race up the inside of people and making it stick to. And now he's on fresher inters against old inters. This should be taking candy from a baby, essentially, from Isak Kush, as Antonio picks up a 3-second penalty.
Whoa! Antonio's just lost it on the straight. He's always getting in the way of the Mercedes of Liam. He lost it in the straight there, brought it back. When I cut to him, it looked like he was going to hit it fall on the straight then. Apologise for putting it in.
It's all good, mate, no worries. And Isak Kush then is going to overtake Smalley Balls on the straight. Let's see if Smalley Balls is aggressive on the brakes into turn number 1. He knows there's a podium on the cars, but it's spun. Yeah, unfortunately for him, Oh yeah, not going to be nice after that one. There'll be a bit of arguments, maybe given that Isak Kush on his defence didn't give enough room there, or did he understeer into him? There's two sides to an argument, of course, so that's going to go down to the stewards, and we'll determine who's at fault there. But Isak Kush up into P3, and he's lost a race due to a penalty, by the way. So at the Singapore Grand Prix last season, he was dominating that. Led every single lap, he dominated, had the gap, he had an over 11-second gap over second place. Then, during the safety car, he wiped somebody out. Well, he didn't wipe him out. He barged his way past second place, first place, who dropped into second, for being on older tyres. Then he had to pull away to get that safety buffer because we thought he could get a penalty. And once that second safety car came out, with a few laps to go, he dropped into second place post-race because he couldn't pull that gap he had initially, and that's what cost him. So hopefully not this time for Isak Kush to lose a podium like that.
Hopefully not, but yeah, that'll be down to the stewards. It might say a race incident, or he might not left the space, but smaller balls was on old intermediates, and yeah, it's just one of those things. Just one of those things. As Sweet Crown is now 1 second away. He's got 3 laps to do it. It's going to be tight, this one.
Yeah, Sweet Crown there being the hunter once again, like he was at the Australian Grand Prix, if I remember correctly as well, at the Chinese Grand Prix, Canadian Grand Prix too. He's been the hunter plenty of times, as he likes to start at the back of the field to make his way through the field once again to show everybody he's the boss. But he's not leading the championship because that goes towards Nathan. The gap between Nathan and Sweet Crown in the championship is about 15 points then, so every point counts in this shortened season there, with only 5 races left to go after this one then. So George Russell, after leading majority of this race like in Canada with 3 laps to go, he would not like to lose a win again, because he lost it in Australia, the first race this season, due to penalties, who Nathan beat him on track. And yeah, penalties has cost him as well during recent races. And he came back in Qatar really strong in there. Sweet Crown fell down the order after making the wrong pit stop as well. But Nathan lost out the win in Canada. He was leading majority of that race, while Sweet Crown was also on the recovery drive, in quotation marks. It wasn't really a recovery drive, it was just, to be honest, a show-off race for Walter. But he's a great driver. He always likes to do different things now and then to give us entertainment and show us what he can do. And back at the Melbourne Grand Prix, Sweet Crown took the victory ahead of Nathan. And round 4, the victory towards Nathan ahead of Pease and Sahilu. Then the Shanghai Grand Prix, Nathan won that. I'm not quite sure what happened to Walter in that race, but gained a huge bunch of points as well. Then the last race at Montreal, Canada, Sweet Crown took him on for the victory of the lead. So yeah, Sweet Crown doing it once again in this race, and let's see how it unfolds. 2 laps left to go. Walter's pulled the gap to like over 5 seconds to under a second now. 5 tenths is the gap. So 2 laps to go. George Russell is under huge pressure from Sweet Crown as Hiller goes around the outside. Haven't talked about him much in this race, but had a few incidents of his own, especially that first opening lap as well. May have body damage as well due to being hit by his teammate Chaza, who's currently the first one to retire in this race.
Yeah, that was unfortunate, but yeah, I called him Chihuahua because it was a nickname that I gave him in FRL. Sorry if viewers do not understand, that is Chihuahua in P10. But in the lead, George Russell will be able to keep it. It's going to be long, it's going to be tough. I don't think he will. He's 3 tenths behind now, Sweet Crown.
And you can see there George Russell having a straight line speed. He's saved up a loads amount of ERS to use in the last 2 fence as a defense mechanism tool. So he knows Sweet Crown has been coming for the last few laps, and George Russell has saved up the ERS, so that could save him towards the end of the race. Sweet Crown does not have that favour towards him, so you have to find another way past. If George Russell, can he force him to mistake? Has he got better traction for that corners, into corners like turn number 5 where he overtook George Russell? George Russell needs to keep it nice and clean in the corners, get the exit he needs, and blast that ERS on the straight there like he's been doing the last lap as well. So crucial times for George, but his Sweet Crown, is his presence started to make him under pressure now. Is he going to be forced into an error? We'll find out, like he was in Australia. This is going to be ever so close between the two, but Sweet Crown with that 2 lap pressure tyre advantage, will it pay off for him later on in this race as well? Will it make a difference now because he's already there in P2? Let's see if his tyres were to good use to overtake George Russell out of the heavy traction zones as well. So let's see if George can defend this. He's got 1 more lap to do so. The pressure's going to be so ever so high. You can't afford to make a mistake like this corner because it's so easy to do so. Negotiates it out well, no wheel spin. Gonna make sure he picks up the throttle at the right time, heading through the final corner. And this is the time you want to use the ERS to stay ahead of Walter. But has Walter got the grip to try and stay with him on the straight? Has he got this? Well, he hasn't got the ERS, but will he try and force up the inside somewhere? That's his best possible case now.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, it seems like George Russell's got 22, I think that says, and then Crown's got 3%. So, what was that? 7%. It's running low, running to the end. He's quicker, definitely, Sweet Crown, but I don't think he'll be able to do it unless George Russell makes a mistake on this final lap, which is easily done. Or able to keep it. The pressure's on him now, that's for sure.
Walter's been able to use his ERS to close in George Russell, so that's why he's quite low, and that's definitely cost him during this race as well. So, especially starting down in P15, you have to use a lot of ERS to make your way through, whereas George Russell being in P1 most of the time, having to find nobody in this race, or if you don't include the old inters. But yeah, ever since he's overtaken him, hasn't looked back since then. Was able to store up the ERS as well. You can see him sliding through the corners, but got to keep Sweet Crown behind. We know Sweet Crown might do a few surprises now and then. They came into contact with the final corner in Canada, but I think Sweet Crown is too far back to make an impression then. So here is George Russell round the final corner there. What a great drive from George Russell as he crossed the line now to win the Spanish Grand Prix ahead of Sweet Crown in P2. Also a great drive from Isaac Kush and Sweet Crown and Jewel Bream and Luke. Those guys started at the back of the field. Yeah, they did. Look at that. Be 14, 15, 12 places gained. So the guys who started at the back made their way to the front, and Nathan there right behind Luke at the end, who will finish in P6 with Smalley Balls in 7th. German will finish in P8 with Antonio with that penalty to his name. Don't know where he'll finish, depends if he got the gap over Sahilu. The gap is 2.6 if he has got a 3-second time penalty, but I don't think he'll do it. And here they are across the line then. Sahilu moves up into P9. Crossley will finish in P11, or will he? Because he's got Gary right behind, and Gary can't make the move, so he stays where he is. Bompier and Posh Evans in P14. So that's the race done for the Spanish Grand Prix. Interestingly, it stayed wet throughout the whole event, which I wasn't expecting. I was expecting it to dry up towards the end. So a mixture of strategy for once in this race. It stayed wet for the first time in a long time too, throughout the entirety of this event. And George Russell came out on top, but Sweet Khan, if he didn't disqualify himself, he might have won this race, I dare say.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was at the end of the day, he's good recovery drive, but if you did attempt qualifying, get a good start first, I think he would have had the race in the bag. But I don't know what Posh Evans is doing. That will be okay.
I'll get the boys in the interviews and speak to them. By the way, it's the toilet, didn't I? Yeah.
And then I think
don't get Walter. I don't think Walter will join because he'll only join if he wins the race.
Oh. You can always try. Has he been added to the party? Or...
Yeah, he has.
Okay. Well, it's up to you to start.
We'll go with George as you've seen he's here. So, Nathan, mate, congratulations on you winning the race and extending your championship lead. You must have been under huge pressure seeing that gap going down and going down and going down. What was going through your head?
Yeah, I don't really know what happened. Obviously, before the safety car, me and Gary extended the gap quite a bit, and then after the safety car, just the pace kind of seemed to disappear. So I knew I kind of had to pit before Walter, and then Walter stayed out like 3 laps longer, so he was always going to have the tyre advantage even with the 7-second gap when he pitted. So yeah, the last kind of like 5 laps I was there like this is going to be some defense to try and win, but I think he didn't really have the ERS. I managed to save a lot, so yeah, just was about getting a good exit out the final corner.
That's what I said as well. Were you a bit worried about well, you said you've. Well, I was going to ask this then. During the time that Walter was closing you down, were you just trying to save the ERS, knowing that you're going to close you down and just use it all the way down the straight because you had that extra ERS to spare?
Up until lap like 23, 24, I was kind of using it down the pit straight and down the straight like after turn 9. And then as soon as I saw Walter start gaining like 7, 8, 9 tenths, like as soon as we cleared like all the other people who hadn't pitted, I was like, yeah, okay, I just kind of need to save. And then luckily the VSC came out, so I managed to save a lot. I think I went from like 40% to like 90% of that, just to kind of make sure I have something to kind of like defend against Walter with. And then yeah, it was just about kind of managing it. And then last lap, I knew as long as I hadn't used it all coming out like onto the final lap, then it was fine. But yeah, it was just about the final corner really.
Was your setup more suited towards the wet conditions or the dry conditions? Because do you think that's
the wet? Well, if it's a wet race, then you kind of have to change your setup towards it. But if it's just like a wet quality, then you can kind of keep it the same. But yeah, no, I changed it. I upped the wings by like 4 or 3 on each, just to kind of give a little bit of downforce. But I don't know if Walter or is that used anything different, but mine felt still not high enough.
Yeah, but what a great race. The coverage drive from you as well is trying to save the ERS to use towards the end, so you played your cards right towards saving that ERS and keeping Walter at bay. So you extend the championship ahead of Sweet Crown, and how do you feel going into Abu Dhabi?
I mean, I might just start last, because it seems like Izzet and Walter could just start last and then they just still end up on the podium. But yeah, I mean, just trying to aim for another podium, I guess. Try and not get damage or a repeat of an Austria, because I know into the chicane after the long straight, that's a horrible braking zone again. So yeah, just try and keep it clean and then hope for a top 5 for another podium and try to finish ahead of Walter. But yeah, Walter's looking just very quick.
Do you think if he keeps up with disqualifying himself in qualifying, do you think you've got a big chance over him? Because that's what I dare say. I'm going to say it, Nathan. If Walter hasn't been disqualified himself or not certain times, he would have like, I don't know. I don't want to put it quite mean or anything like that, but he would have been much more closer, wouldn't it? If I could put it quite nice.
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously Canada he still won. I think today, I feel like it would have been very close. I think depending on like pit stops and if like maybe because I know Walter got held up by Liam and I think one other person and Antonio as well, so he lost like a couple seconds. So maybe those couple of seconds might have made a difference in terms of his tyres not being as good. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm fully expecting for it to come down to the final race. So yeah, it should be an interesting second half of the season.
Yeah, with 5 late races left to go, which one is your strongest? Abu Dhabi, Silverstone, Miami, Imola, or Sao Paulo?
None of them. I mean, I don't know about this game, but just of previous games, I'd have to say Brazil. Walter's esports level at Miami, so that's going to be a case of trying to aim for P2. Imola, keep out the walls, and I'm happy. And then Silverstone is just a boring train race, so that's just going to be about quali. So, yeah, I'll say Brazil. Try and just repeat what I did on previous games there, but yeah, it's just going to be trying to, I guess, aim for a podium each race.
Yeah, because there's no podium so far this season, and once again, congratulations on that win, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you both for comms as well.
So yeah, Phoenix, you got any questions for Nathan?
No, I don't. Great race.
We'll move on to Sweetclan then, if he's here. Are you here, Walter?
Yes.
So, for about 4 or 5 races in a row, you've been like disqualifying and stuff. So you obviously know you've got the pace and the confidence just to blast your way up through the field. But yeah, I don't know what to say about that because it's definitely costing you. It didn't cost you in Canada, but this race, if you hadn't done that, I dare say you would have been further up. So, are you during towards the later stages of this season now? Are you gonna keep doing that? Like I said, a lot of times you need to.
I'm not doing quali.
You're not doing quali.
No.
There's your answer.
Quali.
There's your answer.
Today, I just do some practice. I used my quali as race laps. Just wet. Didn't help. But nah, it's just more fun at the back. It's just more fun. And yeah, I don't know. Like today, I was more happy about my Madden game than my F1. But no, it's more fun, and even on this grid, you have the pace to like have a bit more fun just coming through the back. It's just enjoyable instead of sitting in a train the whole race and just sit behind a dude, like just moving to P1 then back to P2 and then over again.
That's a good thought actually. But don't you get a bit nervous if there's like lots of if there's a big DRS tree like George said, or Nathan said about Silverstone? So if it was one of those tracks, would you consider doing it?
Nah, everyone says. They, the whole grid trash. So yeah, nah, it's fine. It's even on the tracks where like there's a lot of DRS. You can do it in the corners. It's most of the time it's fine.
You got most champions and most championships in CRL alongside Duval. So you go for your 3rd championship, and with 5 races left to go, how are you feeling for it? Because George extends his gap over you, and how do you feel going to the next few races?
Really looking forward to Miami, and that's about it. Miami is gonna be the one. Well, I might actually do laps for, and I'll definitely do quali for Miami because it's Miami. We love that. And I don't even know what the other tracks are.
Sao Paulo, Brazil, Abu Dhabi, Miami, and there's one more I can't remember. Imola.
Oh no. Yeah, it ain't looking good, but Miami's nice.
I'll keep an eye on you with that one as well. So during the race, how did the car feel overall? Because you were just flying through the field as well, like making loads of positions at the start. What is it about, like, how are you so good at making up those positions? Is it your car placement? Is it avoiding people who make mistakes on the first open lap? Because there was loads of mistakes on the first lap. So how are you so good at just making up those positions, and what do you do?
I was just trying to, especially in the rain, I was just trying to like different lines as well. I saw a lot of people taking like just behind each other, and I was like, I'll go in slower or just like going a bit more to the outside and inside. Especially in lap 1, it was just everyone was almost just in a train already. I think I made up like 8 positions of the start alone on lap 1, and I think one move was pretty wide, but they both went so slow, so I was able to just go down the inside. But no, in general, it's just nice. It's my pace in the rain is I really enjoy driving in the rain. So if the rest of the races could be wet, that'll be lovely.
And I take it during the end of the race as well with the shorter VRS. Do you think that cost you towards the race win today?
Nah, not the ERS. I knew I had to do it in the corner. I thought it was running a little bit high wings, but I think we ran the same after I looked at it. But No, I knew I had to do it in the corners anyway, because Nathan just had too much ERS, and I don't know if I could have got him, but I know I had more chance of getting him if I didn't get tapped by Tony. I lost like a second, and then I know Smalley was fighting me pretty hard, even on all tires, and that cost me a little bit. But I don't know if I would have overtaken, but that would have at least given me more chances, like to make Nathan make a mistake or something.
Yeah, surprise tap there by Antonio. I didn't see the fight between you and Smalley Balls. I know you did it at turn before, but there was 3 cars fighting for P3 at the time, so apologies for not seeing that. But yeah, what a great comeback drive from P16, P15 to P2. So you definitely a candidate for the drive of the day. But congrats on P2, mate, and enjoy the rest of your season because you're flying so far. 3-time world champion incoming. Do you think?
Maybe. Who knows? We'll see at the end of the season.
Trying to break Duval's record. And Phoenix, you got any questions for Walter?
No. Well, today's great race, good drive.
That's it then, and that's the Spanish Grand Prix rounded off then for a great race in Tier 1 with the rain mixing it up at the front. So yeah, great race indeed, and we'll see you all next week at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Join me back for Tier 1 at 7 o'clock, half 7 sorry, and join me back for Tier 1 at 8 o'clock. So Tier 4 at 7, Tier 1 at 8, Monday and Thursday. So we'll see you all then. Have a great weekend and take care. Congrats to Sweet Crown, Nathan and Isa Kush on the winning podiums today. They drove brilliantly, all 3 of them from the back, also with Luke as well, and Jewel Beam coming from the back as well. So even though Jewel Beam had a bit of contact early on in the race, so it was a great resurgence drive from him to come back through the field along with Luke.